this glorious day. And so let me start by telling you a story. Nisha Anand shared a story of her experience in finding common ground. In 1947, the British government left India and divided the country into India and Pakistan. And it was known as the Partition of India. What transpired in the coming months that lay ahead was a major division because of religion and politics between the people that were inhabiting Pakistan and India. And what also happened is that it was like there was this partition, and 15 million people were left trapped in places that they really didn't want to be behind. They didn't want to be in this place or that place. They wanted to go beyond the boundary. And so started the greatest migration in the world that was ever known at that point in time. Because of the infighting that occurred, 2 million people died because of the Great Partition. Nisha Ananda's family found herself on the wrong side of the partition. They went into hiding because initially they were unable to migrate, and they knew that their lives would be in jeopardy if they were out and about where they were left behind. And so they hid with another family in a home. And one day armed soldiers appeared at the home where they were hiding. And Nisha's father was just a tiny little baby at that point, and he began to cry. And his father made a great decision, a difficult decision, that he would kill his sons so that others in his family would survive, and the family that was hiding them would likewise survive if he had to. And so Nisha's grandmother began to shake the youngest son. And for some reason, he abruptly stopped crying. Now the soldiers, the armed soldiers, held the Muslim family that was hiding them at gunpoint and demanded to know if they were hiding anyone in their home. Now this Muslim family swore on the Quran that there was no one else living in their house. And they were willing to put their lives in jeopardy for a Hindu family. They set their religious beliefs aside. This Muslim family that hid them, that protected them, that swore on their holy book, chose love and unity over hate, fear, anger, and division. So just what is unity? Ernest Holmes speaks of unity in the Science of Mind textbook over 60 times. One of my favorite quotes is, "We are therefore members of the universe, and being members of that which unites everything, we are some part of each other." There is no separation between you and me. We indeed are all one. Dr. Charles Fillmore, who was the founder of Unity Spirituality, states unity is universal oneness of God, man, and all creation. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines unity as oneness of a people having harmony or accord within the nation. And yet our tribalism and our desire to be right and our fears have kept us divided rather than unifying us in these United States. 4 years ago, an acquaintance of mine went on Facebook and told everyone who had supported, voted, or written about on his Facebook page the incoming president that he was permanently deleting them from his account. He wanted nothing whatsoever to do with them ever again. His anger, his fear got the better of him. He was unwilling to create bridges that would help our nation heal. You can't build a bridge if you're not willing to bring the two parts together in the middle. What my friend did was cut off all possibility of coming together, of connecting, of being one. 2020 has been an unprecedented year. I don't think any of us who have been alive, for any period of time, have seen this world or our nation, our state, our country deal with the challenges that it's currently dealing with. One of the reasons it's been such a difficult time is because we live in a dualistic world, us versus them. Separateness dominates our homes, our work, our communities, our government, and our world. If we would just look at the issue of masks alone, we can understand the dualism is ever present. We can't even create a bridge on whether we should or should not use them. We cannot come to a common ground on that. Richard Rohr states, "I'm convinced that the roots of our divisions can only be overcome by a unitive consciousness at every level: personal, rational, social, political, cultural, and spiritual." It is time for us to truly begin to see and know and believe that we are all connected, that we are all one, that we are united. There is no separation between us. The Centers for Spiritual Living vision is to create a world that works for everyone. And we will never be able to accomplish that if we do not widen our circle by opening it to people we have been challenged by in the past. Compassion and love is how we can relate to each other. When our actions reflect the truth of who we are, we will begin to heal the challenges and the suffering of the world. And part of that action is the realization that we cannot do this alone. We cannot do this as just one person. Yes, we can take steps, but we need many to make something happen, something to transpire, something to grow out of the ashes. Stop and think for a moment about something that you are passionate about. All of us have things that we want to change in our community, in our family, or beyond. Got it in mind? Now, can you shift or change it all by yourself? Or do you need help? Does everyone have to agree that something must transpire, something must be done? We cannot change our world alone. We must have help so we can create a bigger window and a wider circle. We have to step into courage and know that we are planting seeds for a healthy future for everyone. In Matthew 13:31-32, it states, "He related another parable to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it grows, it is larger than all the herbs, and it becomes a tree so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches." When I was in Israel several years ago, I saw mustard plants, and indeed they are huge, and yet the seed is so small. It is amazing that one tiny seed can expand into so many plants. There is power in the seed. For that fact, there is power and wisdom in any seed that we choose to plant. We cannot measure its strength by appearance. We need only look at the small seed that grows the giant redwoods north of here up on the coast. Based on this appearance of the seed, if you didn't know it, we'd think that it'd be a scrawny little itty bitty tree. After all, it's wafer thin and only about a quarter of an inch wide. That's only about that much. And yet that can grow giant trees that grow hundreds of feet and into the air. As human beings, we tend to judge everything, often based upon something's appearance. We don't wait to pass judgment before we've even heard all sides of the story. People who listen to Fox News and others who listen to MSNBC or CNN or CBS will not know or hear the same information. That does not, however, make either one of them right or wrong. God never intended us to think and believe and be exactly alike. What a boring world it would be if we were all the same. How would we ever learn and grow if there was no difference between us? When we look at a garden, we see many different kinds of plants enhancing the beauty of what surrounds us. In fact, plants thrive living next to each other. They nurture each other. We can thrive together if we're willing to find our common ground and then unite for the better of all. To live in unity, we must find common intentions. We're stronger together than we are apart. Think of it as as a partner dance. Two individuals come together regardless of their race, their age, their religion, or their political beliefs. They set all that aside and come to depend upon each other as they glide across the dance floor. I can't even imagine that the tango and the foxtrot would look pretty. It would look pretty. Actually, it would look funny if it was just one person trying to do it. The beauty is the movement that these two people create together. So to create something of beauty through dance, the twosome unite in the common factor, which is the love of dance, the love of music. We cannot change the world by only listening to one side. That's why I sometimes think, wouldn't it be wonderful if for just 1 month, all news stations were turned off. Absolutely no information about politics, about COVIDs, about killing, about mass destruction. Absolutely no information. We would be forced to look at what do we all have in common with others, regardless of whether they're a Democrat, a Republican, a Catholic, a Jew, a different race, or the opposite sex. We would hopefully begin to share what we have in common, rather how different we all are. We'd ask, what can I learn from this individual? Today's lesson title is Unity, but I don't like them. When I originally selected the title, I was thinking that Thanksgiving dinners would be happening all over the country, and how many times families come together and a holiday dinner erupts into absolute chaos because the differences between them, not because of love. Movies have been made about that issue and the dysfunction of families because of politics and religion, who they married, the kids that they had. It is time for us to leave duality behind and remember that what is good or right for me does not necessarily mean it has to be good or right for you. But we should not separate or be divided by the differences in our beliefs. Let us bring it together to solve all of our concerns. Dr. Holmes states unity is the basis of all that there is. There is but one God, but one mind, but one spirit, and but one power. When I embody myself in my thoughts selfishly, I am separating myself from that which I think would be my good. You may think this is the very subtle thing and could not be the reason for so much trouble. It is the foundation of all of our troubles. I am unconsciously separating myself from my good. Another reason we're challenged to come together as one is because of our fears. After the recent election, a close friend of mine and I were talking about the results of the election. What I came to understand was that we were on opposite ends of the election, and it was we had voted because of our fears. We had each voted based upon what we were afraid would happen if the opposite person was elected. Fear is a paralyzing mental belief and action. It weakens us. It clouds our thinking and our ability to see logically. Fears divide away our ability to hear the voice within and open to our divine guidance. Fear is like living in a state of fight or flight 24/7. And when we are in fear, we are unable to unite with anyone. We're unable to see that love can conquer our fears. Fear and love cannot coexist. When we stay in fear, we become stagnant. We're unable to see anything new that might help us unravel a challenge or see another's perspective. Our mind lives paralyzed and focused on that fear. And of course, that only opens the door to make it worse and to deepen that fear and to make it more chronic. Jesus said, "Why are you fearful, O ye of little faith?" We can release fear through our faith and be willing to go to that place of love. And we must heal the fears that reside hidden in our subconscious. That's what comes back and gets us. Excuse me. Recently, Reverend Terry, Sandra Sharp, and I went on a 2-week tour of the Southwest. We wanted to get out of Dodge. So we took our trailer, my trailer, and we went on our way. And along the way, we saw some incredible scenery at our national parks. What I began to notice at Bryce and Zion, Macy, go ahead and show the slides, was how trees would grow out of rocks or on the sides of cliffs. I became totally fascinated with how the trees had adapted to the environment and had grown. They always grew upward, regardless if they were on the side of the cliff. It amazed me how the trees would just come right on out and grow upward. And yet there seemed to be no dirt there. How did they get water? How did they get nutrients? To me, there was no earthly reason why some of these trees were growing or how they had survived. They didn't appear to be near where there was lots of water so that they could grow, even if rocks were there to prevent them from extending. The roots would adapt and embrace the rocks almost as if they were hugging them. Or sometimes they would come up and around a large boulder and the tree would mold to that boulder. In some instances, the roots were on top of the surface rather than going deep within. To me, it served as a living example of adaptability, acceptance, compromise, and unity with the elements that are different. They coexisted. And when we are willing to find common ground, to create a bigger circle, we can adapt to the needs and wants of others and compromise. If we're going to unite, we must be willing to change. Dying on our sword for our beliefs does not create unity or change. Nobody but you can release your fears, deepen your faith, or trade anger and hate for love. Besides the inner work that we must do as we continue to walk our spiritual journey, here are a few other ways that you can build a bridge and create common ground. Avoid finger pointing and blaming. We tend to do that so often. How many times since COVID has begun, have we heard someone point a finger at someone else or blame an organization for where we are in our healing process with this disease? My guess is a lot. Ask individuals to help you that share your values, but don't always necessarily agree with you. It forces us to expand and think of other alternatives beyond our beliefs. We come together to create new solutions. Look for the individuals who are willing to stretch and see the value that others can contribute. 6 ideas are better than only one. And the process to come up with one concept encourages communication and understanding and others' points of view. Constantly communicate with those that you are working with and have a group vision and communicate that group vision to others. Don't keep it a secret. Agree upon that vision together. Work through adversity. When we do this, it strengthens our oneness and our bond. There is no separation in who we are. Be vulnerable and know what your flaws are. And it's okay to disagree. Just be willing to create compromise, to create newness, to create solutions with each other. Remember, there is greatness in numbers, because we become one together. You can accomplish more together than you can divided. Don't forget to be honest. Don't have hidden agendas. Transparency is of the utmost importance. In your new, bigger circle, avoid gossip and address any and all issues immediately. Be willing to serve and work with others you feel uncomfortable with. And sometimes step ahead as the leader and sometimes drop back as the follower. Your willingness to unite in adversity will go a long way to bringing the ends of the bridge together. The questions you ask as you work with others are important. It should never ever be, is this action leftist or rightist, liberal or conservative, socialist or capitalist? The question should always be, does this action love my neighbor? Does this action look out for their interests as well as my own? Does this action manifest the fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of unity, the fruit of oneness? Dr. Bruce Perry wrote, "Your history of connectedness is a better predictor of your health than your history of adversity. The superpower of humankind is our capacity to connect. It is regulating, rewarding, and the major route by which we can teach, coach, parent, heal, and learn." So I would challenge you today to begin seeking to connect, seeking to live in unity as you create a bigger circle in all aspects of your life. This is the truth in my life, and this is the truth in yours, and so it is.